So today I am going to start with the second session under chapter 2, the law of equi-marginal utility. So last class what we have seen? We have seen the law of diminishing marginal utility. So under the cardinal utility analysis we have seen. So just to analyze the utility level of a consumer, we have seen there are two measures. One is cardinal utility and ordinal utility. Under cardinal utility, we have seen the law of diminishing marginal utility in session 1. Now, this will be the session 2 for you under chapter 2. So, under this session, we will be seeing the law of equi-marginal utility. Okay. So, this equi-marginal utility here, this is also um, uh, whereas under the law of diminishing marginal utility, it was analyzed with the help of the only single wants of an individual. Okay, so we have studied the law of diminishing marginal utility with the help of a single commodity, whereas this law of equi-marginal utility will study or will analyze the utility level or the satisfaction level of an individual with the help of a what? More than one commodity. Okay, so as we know what is utility, it is nothing but the want satisfying power of a commodity. So whenever you tempted to buy a commodity, utility level will happens. Okay, not only the satisfying, it's a satisfying power actually. You don't consume the commodity, but after consuming the commodity, obviously you will get the satisfaction. If you don't have the satisfaction level, then you will not be tempted to buy the commodity again. Okay, once you get the satisfaction level, then utility level arises. Okay, utility of a commodity arises. Okay, so in that level, in that case, we have seen what is need, wants, and utility we have seen. So here this law of equi-marginal utility, it is the, we can say this is the next stage of the law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, so in that case, we are going to see the initial stage of the measurement of utility level is law of diminishing marginal utility. The second stage or the second level of the measurement of utility is law of equi-marginal utility. Okay, the only difference is under the law of diminishing marginal utility, Marshall, he is a very good economist. He analyzed the utility level of a consumption with the help of a single commodity. Here you are going to see more than one commodity. In law of one commodity, in law of equi-marginal, we will see the two commodity levels. Okay, so in that case here, as we are this is the extended law of diminishing marginal utility. We call this law of equi-marginal utility as what the the law of substitution. This law, it is also called as law of substitution, law of consumers equilibrium, Gauss's second law, and law of maximum satisfaction. So law of diminishing marginal utility, it was called as Gauss's first law of marginal utility, but this is the second law. Okay, so here these are all the few introduction about the law of equi-marginal utility. Now we will see what is law of equi-marginal utility. Equi means what? The equal importance given by the consumer in purchasing two commodities. Okay, if you want to buy two commodities, how far your satisfaction level will happen in purchasing the two commodities. Okay, so whether the satisfaction level of one commodity is more and other commodity is less. Okay, so in that way we are going to analyze it, and whether these two commodities, it is giving different level of satisfaction. If suppose the two commodities gives two levels of satisfaction to the consumer, what the consumer has to do to equalize the satisfaction level in purchasing the two commodities. This is the main important concept given by Marshall. Okay, so obviously before going into the law, we need to know some of the assumptions which was framed by Alfred Marshall. So Alfred Marshall, he is the one who formulated this law of equimarginal utility with the help of law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, so in that way, before seeing into the concept with the help of the example diagrams, we are going to see how Marshall he framed the assumptions before explaining the laws. Okay, he says that he is having some assumptions. Okay, some the assumptions it may be correct after analyzing, some assumptions it may not be correct also. So now we are going to see what are all the assumptions and what assumptions are very apt for the law, and what are all the assumptions which will be criticized by the other people also. Okay, so in that case, the first one is, he says that the consumers, those who are buying more than one commodity, they may be a rational consumers. Okay, so because they want to maximize their satisfaction level in the consumption of the commodity. And here the utility of each commodity, it is measurable. Obviously this law, it comes under the cardinal utility analysis. He says that whatever the measurement by analyzing the utility, he says that it will be in a measurable terms. Okay, it may be in a measurable terms like 1 2 3 numbers. Okay, and this marginal utility of money remains constant. Okay, so here marginal utility of money also, it remains, it should be a very constant among the consumer when he is purchasing the two commodities. Okay, the additional money spent by the additional unit of money spent by the consumer. And here the income of the consumer is given. Yes, obviously we need to know how much the money the consumer he is having before consuming the or while consuming the commodities. Okay, whether it is X commodity or Y commodity, whatever, with the help of the example we'll see. And there is perfect competition in the market. Yes, perfect competition. I hope you might be studied the term perfect competition in your previous years. It is nothing but here what? It's a market, it's a place where both the buyers and the sellers, they meet together to sell the commodity and to buy the commodities. The producers and consumers, they will be there. Okay, or the sellers and the buyers will be there in a market to buy the commodity. Okay, to sell the commodity and to buy the commodity. So in that market, what happens? No, there may be, we cannot say that only one producer and one seller or a group of producer and a group of sellers will be there. It's not like that. Perfect competition, it's a situation. It's a situation where more number of buyers and more number of sellers will be there in the market. So which means that it's a place where the consumers can find more of commodities. Among more number of commodities, what happens? No, he is going to choose two commodity, and from that two commodity, what kind of or what level of utility he is going to get, we are going to analyze, which was said by Marshall. Then the price of the commodities are given. Yes, only if the price of the commodity is given, only you will purchase the commodity only if the price of the commodity is displayed, whether it is outside the commodity or in the package of the commodity. If the price is not mentioned, obviously no producer is going to sell the commodity without fixing the price for their commodity. Okay, in that case, before purchasing the commodity, the consumer, he has to have the complete knowledge about the price of the commodity. Okay, which is given by the producer. Then next here, as I told you, the law of equimarginal utility, it's the continuation of the law of diminishing marginal utility, or we can say that it is the second part of the law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, so how, why, all those things we will see in the coming concepts. Now here see, like as I told you, the consumer is ready to purchase two kind of commodity. Okay, with a limited income in his hand. Okay, So like for example, a consumer, he is going to spend his money in the purchase of apple and orange. Okay, so in the purchase of apple and orange, how far he is going to get the utility level, whether he is going to have same level of, whether it is possible to have the same level of satisfaction in purchasing the two commodities, apple and orange. Yes, it is possible. It was said by Marshall how when the marginal utility of apple is equal to the marginal utility of oranges. The quantity it may differ, but the quantities, few quantity of apple, consuming apple will be equal to the what? The few quantity of oranges. Okay, but the quantity may be different, but the marginal utility, it has to be same in at one point. Okay, so that point we call it as what? The law of equimarginal utility. It is equal to k. K, it is nothing but the constant marginal utility of money. So in a simple way, he says that whenever a consumer is consuming two commodities, when a consumer is consuming first commodity apple, his his utility should be it depends upon the price of the commodity, that is the marginal utility of apple divided by the price of apple. It should be equal to the marginal utility of orange divided by the price of orange. So the marginal utility of apple, it should be equal to the marginal utility of orange. Then only there will be a equal level of satisfaction of a consumer, which we call it as the constant marginal utility of money. So in a mathematical term, this concept can be written as MUA divided by PA is equal to MU0 O divided by PO is equal to K. See, for example, if the marginal utility of apple is 50, for the price, if the price of the apple is 10 rupees, okay, so the marginal utility of apple consumed by the consumer is 50 rupees, is equal to marginal utility of orange divided by P of what? P of O, that is price of orange. Okay, if suppose the value of marginal utility in consuming the orange is 20, for the price given is 40, if you divide both the points, you will get a equal value, that is 5, where this 5 is said to be the constant level of utility level of the consumer. This, for seeing it may be a difficult one, but by the following example we will see how far this calculation it happens. Okay, and this as by seeing this law, we call this law as a consumer's equilibrium. This law, it is also called as what? The law of consumer's equilibrium. So suppose instead, if the marginal utility of the consumption of apple is if it is equal, then the law is said to be the law of equimarginal utility we have seen. If suppose the marginal utility of the first commodity is less than the marginal utility of the second commodity, what will happen? The consumer has to what? The consumer has to make a adjustment, or he has to make a transfer the money from purchasing apple to orange till the utility level is 0. Okay, so whenever it's like for example, if I want to purchase two commodities, apple and orange, if suppose depending upon the prices, okay, you see the same level of prices will be there. If I'm purchasing five apples and three apples, if we cannot say that both the things are giving equal level of satisfaction to me. Okay, I have to make an arrangement or in the adjustment of money in purchasing what? The higher amount of quantity of orange. So which will give the equal level of satisfaction to me. Okay, so that is the concept we are seeing under the law of EQ marginal, giving equal importance to the two commodities by adjusting the money in purchasing the two commodities. Okay, so this is how the law it is, and the process of substitution gives you maximum yes, whenever there is an adjustment in the allotment of money in the distribution of two commodities which gives equal level of satisfaction, then the consumer will have a maximum level of satisfaction in getting the utility from the two commodities. This is the concept of law of EQ marginal utility. That's why this law it is also called as what? Law of substitution. We are adjusting the money to get the substitution commodity orange to equalize the utility level. Okay, so here, like for example, if the apple is 50 by 25 according to the formula, and orange is 20 by 4, then there will be a what? There will be a, this situation it indicates that spending more money on orange is wiser. Why? To get the maximum level of satisfaction. With the help of the illustration, it will be still you can understand very clearly. Like for example, you see the right side, the tabular column, we are taking the number of units and we are going to analyze the total utility level and marginal utility level of both the commodity apple and orange. So here you see the unit of commodities. I am ready for, if I am a consumer, okay, I am ready to purchase 6 units of the commodity of both the apple and orange. At what level I will get the satisfaction in purchasing the two commodities, we will see with the help of a schedule, and we will see with the help of a diagram also. See here, in the tabular column, we are taking both the commodities and their total utility and marginal utility. And we are going to see how far the price level of the commodity apple and orange is going to influence the consumer's satisfaction level. Okay, so the units, the first column is units of commodities, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, only 6 levels we are going to see. Then you take the apple. So in consuming the apple, what will be the total utility and marginal utility? You see the total utility, it is what? It is a fixed measurable points given by the author. Okay, so in purchasing the first apple, the consumer, he is getting 25 total utility. It is just a number given by the marshal. Okay, at that point, what will be the marginal utility? Marginal utility, it will be 25. Okay, it will be a 25. And you see the price, next third column, it is nothing but the marginal utility. It is analyzed with the help of the income or the price of the commodity. Okay, so what is the price of one apple? 2. And the price of one orange is 1 rupee. Okay, so this is the price of the commodity which is fixed already. Okay, so with the help of the price level of the commodity and the quantity of the commodity, it is very easy to analyze the utility level of the consumer. So you see in the purchase of the 2 units of apple, the total utility is 45. So when you consume the first 1 unit of commodity, the price of the total utility is 25, marginal utility is 25, and the marginal utility of the commodity when the price is 2 is 25 by 2 is equal to 12.5. When you simplify 25 by 2, you will get 12.5. Then when you consume 2 units of commodities, that is 2 units or 2 numbers of apple, the total utility will be 45. Then what is marginal utility? We have seen how to calculate the marginal utility under the law of diminishing marginal utility. So how to calculate the marginal utility? The total utility level in consuming the second commodity with the minus the total utility in the consumption of the first commodity. Okay, so here 45 minus 25 equal to 20. Okay, then you see how for the marginal utility of the consumption of apple. So 20 divided by 2 equal to 10. Then next here you see the third consumption of 3 apples. Here you see the total utility is 65, then the marginal utility 18. So how this 18 comes? You have to minus this 63 minus 45 equal to 18. Okay, then here how for the marginal utility of the consumer in consuming the particular apple? Okay, particular number of apples, 18 by 2. 2, as I told you, it is there will not be any change in the price of the commodity. The price of the commodity is fixed one. Okay, so 18 by 2 equal to 9. Then here the fourth situation is if the consumer is consuming 4 number of apples, the total utility will be 78, the marginal utility will be 15, 78 minus 63, 15, and the marginal utility of the consumption of 4 apples is 15 by 2 equal to 7.5. Then the fifth apple, the total utility 5 number of apples, the total utility will be 88, marginal utility will be 88 minus 78 equal to 10, and the marginal utility of the apple with the given price 2 is 5. 10 by 2 equal to 5. Then the consumption of 6 apples, the consumer will be getting 92 total utility, and the marginal utility is 92 minus 88, 4. This will be the marginal utility of apple by consuming apples, and here this is the marginal utility of the consumption of the apple is 4 by 2 equal to 2. Now this is the entire picture of the consumption of apple. Now you come to the picture of orange. What is the case of total utility and marginal utility in the consumption of orange? When the consumer consumes 1 apple, 1 orange, the total utility will be 30. Marginal utility is same, and you see the marginal utility of apple when the price is 1. Okay, the price level 1 is fixed in the consumption of apple. Okay, so 30 by 1 equal to 30. When the consumer consumes second orange, the total utility is 41, marginal utility is 11, and the marginal utility of the consumption of orange when the price is 1 is equal to what? Price means the money value of the orange is 1. Okay, 11 by 1 is equal to 11. The next you come to the consumption of the third unit of orange. The total utility will be 49, marginal utility will be 8, and when the price of the commodity is 1, then the marginal utility in the consumption of orange is 8 by 1 equal to 8. Then when the consumer is consuming the fourth orange, his total utility will be 54, marginal utility will be 5, and the price of the orange is 1. Then what will be the marginal utility? It will be 5 by 1 equal to 5. Then here you see when the consumer is consuming fifth orange, what will happen to the total utility? For example, if it is 58, the marginal utility, it will be 4. Okay, it will be 4. As you know how to calculate the marginal utility, 58 minus 54 equal to 4. And marginal utility of the commodity when the price is given 1, it will be 4 by 1 equal to 4. Then you come to the sixth commodity. Okay, when if he purchase 6 commodities of orange, his total utility will be 61, marginal utility will be 3, and the marginal utility of orange when the price is 1 is 3 by 1 equal to 3. Now, with this scheduled of total utility, marginal utility of apple and orange, what is the main important thing we need to see from this tabular column is the consumer has to decide, as you assume yourself as a consumer. Okay, so you will, whether you will be purchasing equal quantity of both the commodities. It's not like that. You need to see how many number of apples, if you are purchasing, you are getting the you will be getting the satisfaction level. And when you consume orange, if you are getting the satisfaction level, at what quantity of both the commodities will give you the equal satisfaction. That is very, very important. Okay, for some people, consuming 2 apples will be giving the equal level of satisfaction by consuming what, 10 number of oranges. Okay, it depends upon the different people. Okay, but what quantity of both the commodity gives equal level of satisfaction, we are going to see in this tabular column. Okay, see here, the consumer, he will be attaining maximum utility when he buys 5 units of apples. Okay, 5 units of apples. How? Here you see, you see here the marginal utility of consuming apple. At purchasing 5 units of apple, the consumer, he is getting 5. Okay, the marginal utility of apple is 5 when he is purchasing 5 units of commodity. See here, the same 5 number of marginal utility where it is found in buying the oranges. See here, 5 is there. Okay, so this is the same level, this 5 and this 5, it matches only, but only when the consumer is buying the 5 units of apple and when buying 4 units of oranges. This is very, very important. So the number 5 here and this 5, it is same. So here Marshall, he says that the consumer, he is getting marginal, same level of satisfaction, marginal utility, when the consumer is buying 5 units of apple and 4 units of oranges. Okay, so at the same level or the constant level of marginal utility of money, what will be the total utility? So you see here, this 5 is here. So at this point, what about the total utility of the consumer in purchasing 5 units of commodity? The total utility is 88. Now here you come to the purchase of orange, it is 5 here, which is same equal to the marginal utility of purchasing apple. At this level, what is the total utility of the consumer? 54 in purchasing 4 units of oranges. So in this case, the consumer, he will be getting equal level of satisfaction, 5 and 5, when he purchases 5 units of apple and 4 units of oranges. Okay, so in purchasing both apple and oranges, his total utility will be 88 plus 54 equal to 142 utils or units. Okay, so this is the concept which was given by Marshall. And you see, if this is the according to the equation, you see the marginal utility of purchasing apple with the given price PA will be equal to marginal utility of oranges with the given price level of orange P0 equal to what? Here this 10 by 2 equal to 5 by 1 equal to 5. So at this point, what happens now? Here, with the help of this schedule, we have analyzed what, and also what Marshall he explained is the a marginal utility of Apple when the price level given to is 5 utils, and the marginal utility of orange with the help of the price given at as 1 rupee is 5. So at that point the consumer will be having a yes, equal level of satisfaction when he purchases 5 units of apple and 4 units of oranges, and by combining the both utils the total utility will be 144 units of the consumer. So the concept is very simple. To analyze the equal level of satisfaction we need to know the marginal utility with the help of a price. So this is very important in law of equi marginal utility. So this same is given with the help of a diagram. So here you see in the diagram we are taking the x-axis as units of commodity X, that is units of apple, and Y commodity units of what? The orange. Okay, so we are taking the what we have seen in the schedule, we are taking it in the x-axis. So in the two y-axis we are taking the marginal utility of apple and marginal utility of oranges. Okay, so here you see whatever the points we have taken, whatever the data we have seen in the schedule, we are going to plot it in the graph, and we are going to find out with the help of the lines or the graph, we are going to see how far the utility equal level of satisfaction level a single consumer is getting when he is consuming two commodities. Okay, so in the first diagram we are taking the units of apple in the x-axis and marginal utility of apple in the y-axis, and units of orange in the x-axis and the marginal utility of oranges in the y-axis. So here you plot the number points data in the graph, you will get A1, A2, A3 lines, where if you join both the A1 and A3 curve, you will get a single curve M and N. Okay, at the same time when you come to the second commodity consumption of the units of apples, you will get two lines. Okay, B2, B1, B1, B2, B3, and when you join both the lines you will get a curve PQ. So it is nothing but here what it says is this is the point. The point A1 and B1 is the point where the utility level of the consumption of purchasing apple and orange, it is equal. Okay, maybe the consumer he will be willing to purchase more than a unit of oranges, but where the equal level of satisfaction will happen, it will happen at the point in the line A1 and B1, where we call it as what? Line A1 will be equal to B1. So at that time, at that point, what is the marginal utility of apples and oranges? It will be at the point 5. So at that point only, the consumer he is getting the maximum level of utility. Okay, so the consumption level, it may increase or it may decrease, but equal level of consumption of two commodities, it will happen between A1 and B1. So this is the point we are seeing with the help of the diagram. Okay, then as I told you, if there is a law or if there is a theory, obviously people will be criticizing according to from their point of view. So in that case, there are some economists who criticize the law of equimarginal utility. The two main important criticism is they say that in practice this utility it cannot be measured. Yes, obviously utility it cannot be measured, but it can be only felt. Okay, so only the feelings does not have any measurement at all. Okay, so each and every individual have their own feelings. Okay, so purchasing very little quantity of commodity will give maximum level of satisfaction to some individual. For some individual, what happen, no, purchasing larger quantity of commodity also will give lesser satisfaction level. So the taste preference quantity demanded, it will differ among different individuals. So at that time it is not possible at all to implement this theory, this law, to measure the utility level. This is how the other economists, they are criticizing it. And this law, it cannot be, second one is, this law cannot be applicable to durable goods. Yes, maybe for the consumption of the immediate goods. Okay, this law, it can be it's not good for the for the commodities which can be kept for a longer period. Okay, maybe for an immediate consumption, this analysis, it can be applicable, but for a commodity which has a longer life, it cannot be applicable. Okay, so in vice versa also we can say this is not possible, it cannot be applicable to the durable goods at all. Okay, so this is law of equimarginal utility. Then apart from this law of equimarginal utility, we have some other concepts also to analyze the consumer behavior. Okay, to analyze the consumption level of an individual or group of people, which we call it as consumer surplus. Okay, so consumer surplus, it is this concept of consumer surplus, it was introduced by classical economists actually. So classical, neoclassical, there is much difference between the classical economist and neoclassical economists. So classical economists are nothing but the economists those who was there in the 18th and 19th century, like for example Adam Smith, David Ricardo, Thomas, then Stuart Mill. These are all the economists. They have actually, they have formulated and they have framed so many theories, economic theories and laws, which was even now also it is accepted in all the countries in various ways. Okay, so classical economists, this consumer surplus, it was introduced by the classical economists itself. Now neoclassical economists, they are developing the theory actually given by the classical economists, and that development in the theory only now people in the country, they are implementing to find out the to increase their economic condition. Okay, so in that case consumer surplus, it was introduced by the classical economist actually, but later it was modified by Jevons and Julie Dupuit, and they are the French economists actually in the year 1844. Okay, so we have, as we have seen, law of diminishing marginal utility also, it was modified by Jevons. Okay, and later the concept of consumer surplus, it was perfected actually by Alfred Marshall. Okay, Alfred Marshall, he he has given a proper structure to this consumer surplus, and this consumer surplus, it was based on the law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, and see, the next one is definition. This consumer surplus also, it's very important to analyze the behavior of the consumer. How for by the name itself we can understand surplus is the excess. Okay, so how for consumers excess, it makes the makes us to analyze the utility part. Okay, so here Alfred Marshall, he defines consumer surplus as the excess of price which a person would be willing to pay a thing rather than go without the thing over that which he actually does pay is the economic measure of this surplus satisfaction. This may be called as consumer surplus. It is nothing but, in simple words, we can say that the consumer will be having what? Will be having surplus amount of money, and he will be expecting the higher level of prices when he go for shopping. The price level, it may be maybe a lesser one. Okay, so the ability to pay of the consumer, he will be having an ability to pay higher level of price level, but the actual price level of the commodity, it may be very less. Okay, in that case, what will happen? The money which I'm having in my hand excess, we call it as surplus. Okay, so in that case, we can see, before going into the diagrammatic and explanation part, the same thing, whatever the a theory must have what assumption. Okay, so now we are going to see the assumptions of consumer surplus. So as the main important assumption is utility can be measured. This was said by Marshall, but in reality we have seen in both the laws of law of equimarginal utility and law of diminishing marginal utility, we have seen how far the economists they have measured, but that is not measured the utility, but that is not possible at all. So here also Marshall, he says that utility can be measured. So that's why we are studying this law under the cardinal utility analysis. And his second important assumption is marginal utility of money of the consumer remains same. So marginal utility of money is what? The additional money, how far it gives the additional satisfaction to the consumer. So here it remains constant. That is an assumption. Okay, there are no substitutes for the commodity in question. There should not be any substitute at all. That should what? The substitute means what? The helping what? The helping commodities. Okay, so to purchase. So in that case, it is not possible to measure the utility. Okay, then the taste, income, character of the consumer do not change. So there should not be any taste, there should not be any income, and character of the consumer should not be a changing one. If I am having a money in my hand, I will go for a shopping, then I need to see the commodity. If my aim is to purchase a watch, okay, I have to go to the shop, see the commodity, and immediately I have to purchase the commodity. And when this process goes on, the economist, the author of the theory, he says that there should not be any taste, income, character change when you buy the commodity. But that is not possible at all in the real life, because no, we will be having aim to purchase a particular commodity, or maybe to purchase the particular brand of a commodity. After going to the shop, my taste may different by seeing other commodities. My income, I may be having 5,000 rupees in my hand. Then after going there, maybe if the price level of the commodity is very high, okay, if the quality, if the appearance, if my preference changes, I may be, if 1,000 rupees is extra, okay, those are having more money in their hand, they may be ready to what? Ready to give 1,000 rupees extra. But that should not be there, he is saying. But that is not possible in the real world. Okay, now we have more number of commodities in the market. That's why we have seen in the previous law that the one of the main assumption of the law is perfect competition is applicable. Okay, what is perfect competition? N number of producers, n number of sellers, n number of consumers will be there in the market. So if that concept comes, what will happen? This assumption will not be a correct one. But anyway, Marshall, he is assuming that taste, income, character of the consumer do not change. Okay, then next you come to the fifth assumption. Utility of one commodity does not depend upon the other commodities. Yes, the utility of one commodity does not depend on the other commodity. So the satisfaction level of the one commodity, it does not depend. Maybe this may be applicable for some consumer, it may not be for the other. Okay, now we are going with the help of all these assumptions, we are going to see or we are going to measure the consumer surplus with the help of a example and some mathematical terms. Okay, like for example here, yes, a consumer, he wants to buy an apple. Okay, so he is willing to buy 4 rupees. Okay, I'm you just you assume you are a consumer. Okay, now I'm assuming I'm a consumer to consume the particular commodity apple. I'm having 4 rupees in my hand. Okay, so I'm having 4 rupees in my hand. I think that the price of, I think, okay, I think that the price of a one apple is 4 rupees. Okay, I'm going to a shop to buy the commodity, and after going to the shop, if the price of the apple is only 2 rupees, what will happen? I'll be very happy. Okay, because the price level of the commodity is very less. But my calculation, it was only 4 rupees. So what will happen? I'll be very happy. I'll spend 2 rupees to purchase one apple, and I'll be having extra 2 rupees in my hand, which is a surplus to me. Okay, so it's a surplus to me, which we call it as, I'm a consumer, I have a surplus 2 rupees in my hand. That's why this concept we call it as consumer surplus. Okay, so this is the concept is very simple. The consumer, he will be having whatever the commodity. Here we have, yeah, taken apple. Whenever you have money in your hand, you will be having be having in your mind to purchase a commodity. You'll go to shopping. You want to purchase a shoe. Okay, you'll be having 1,000 rupees in your hand. Yeah, aiming that the price of the commodity is 1,000 rupees, and you are going to shop. You see, if the price of the commodity is 999, the extra 1 rupee, it will be a what? The surplus. Even it is a 1 rupee, the 1 rupee will be the surplus amount in your hand. Where you can utilize this 1 rupee in purchasing, or for your savings also it can be. Okay, so you have the excess money in your hand, and that excess money, you can be utilized for the other activities. Okay, so this having a surplus amount of money in your hand, we call it as what? The consumer surplus. Only the thing is, the willing amount of money which you are having in your hand. I was having 4 rupees in my hand. That amount of money, we call it as actual price of the, or the potential price. Actually, I am willing to buy a commodity. I am aiming that the price of one apple is 4 rupees. So I am taking 4 rupees and I am going to shop. That amount which is capable for me, என்னால் அந்த amount வந்து கொடுக்க முடியும் to purchase one unit of a commodity, which we call it as potential. I have the potential to allot the money for purchasing one unit of a commodity, which we call it as potential price. But the actual price, after going to the shop, I am seeing that one unit of a commodity is only 2 rupees. That is an actual price fixed by the seller in the shop. So the potential price minus the actual price is the consumer surplus. Okay, so that concept you have given in consumer surplus is what a person is willing to pay minus what he actually pays. Okay, or we can write consumer surplus is called as potential price minus actual price, and mathematically we can write this consumer surplus as what? Total utility minus the price and the quantity. TU, it is nothing but what? The total utility. So the total utility, it depends upon the price and the quantity of the commodity. Okay, that's why we are writing the concept in mathematically like TU minus P into Q is the consumer surplus. Now we are going to see the same concept with the help of a tabular column and diagram also we will see. You see, this is the tabular column where we are taking the units of commodity. Then the second column is willingness to pay or potential price. The third one is actual price, and what will be the consumer surplus. So by seeing the tabular column, it's very easy for you. See, the first column is the number of units. When you want to buy one unit, what will be your potential price? Your potential price, you have the capacity to pay 6 rupees for buying one commodity. 1 apple. Then what is the actual price? If it is 2, what will be the surplus? 6 minus 2, 4 rupees will be the surplus for the consumer. Okay. Then next is 2. Then if you want to, if you have the plan to purchase 2 apples, then you have the potential of having 5 rupees in your hand, and the actual price, if it is 2, okay, so the actual price, it does not change at all, it remains constant. Only the potential of the willingness to pay, or the potential prices, it changes among people. Okay. So the consumer surplus when he purchases 2 apples is 5 minus 2 equal to 3. When the consumer is is ready to pay 3 apples, in his hand as 4, what will be the consumer surplus? It will be 4 minus 2, 2. The next, if he is willing to purchase 4 commodities, what will be the if the potential price is 3, what will be the consumer surplus? 3 minus 2 equal to 1. And it goes on. You see the final 5 units of commodity, and if the consumer is having 2 rupees in his hand, because whenever you see the consumer surplus, when the consumer's potential price and actual price is same, what will happen to the surplus? It will be 0. It will be 0. Instead of 4 rupees, if I am having 2 rupees in my hand, and if which we call it as potential price, and if you see the actual price is 2 rupees, I will spend the money as it is and I will purchase the commodity. So in that case, I will not have any surplus in my hand, which we call it as what? The 0 consumer surplus. Okay. So here, after all those things, if you see by the consumer, by consuming 5 units of commodity, his total marginal utility will be 20, and the actual price is 10, and the consumer surplus is 10. So this is how you have to calculate the consumer surplus. Okay. So consumer surplus, it is nothing but the potential price minus actual price. Potential price, it is nothing but the potential of the consumer to allot the money in consuming, and actual price is the MRP price, which is fixed by the seller, producer and seller. Okay. So this is the very important concept. The next here, as I told you, so this is the explanation which already I have given you. Total utility, TU, it is nothing but the total utility. P is the price of the commodity. Q is the quantity of the commodity. And if the consumer is willing to pay rupees 6, 5, 4, 3 and 2 for purchasing the successive units of a commodity, what will be the consumer surplus? Okay. So this one already I told you. So willing to pay is the potential price, and actual price, it is nothing but the price fixed by the sellers in the market. And the consumer surplus, it is the what? The potential price minus the actual price level. Okay. Now you see, this is the diagrammatic representation for the consumer surplus. Okay. So this diagram, to obtain the consumer surplus, to analyze the consumer portions of consumer surplus, we are going to depict the schedule into a graphical representation. Okay. So for that, we are taking x-axis quantity demanded, we are taking, and in the y-axis we are taking the price of the commodity. When you plot all the points in the graph, what will happen? You see the price level of the commodity, always it remains constant, that is from 0 to P level. Okay, 0 to P level. And what is the quantity demanded? It will be from 0 to Q. 0 to Q level is the price level, and the amount of quantity demanded is 0 Q. So there will not be any change in the price level of the commodity. What is the price level of the apple? The price level of the apple is 2. always it will be 2. Only the number of quantity demanded of the commodity, it will be keep on changing from 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, it keep on changing. So the actual price level of the commodity, it is from 0 OPCD. So this is the what? The actual price of the commodity. So in this shader, in this area, what is the price level? O to P. And what is the quantity demanded? O to Q. Or you can say 0 to Q. Okay, what is both are same. So at that in this point, the price, it will be fixed from 0 to 2. The price level of one commodity is 2 rupees. It will not change, but the quantity level demanded, it will be keep on changing from 0 to 6. One, it may be here 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, it keep on changing. Okay, so which we call it as actual price and potential price. Okay, so here the original, the actual price is 0p into 0q. Then the potential price is, that is what is the amount I am capable to allot to purchase the commodity. So that amount is 0d 0dcq is the portion where I'm willing to pay the money for purchasing the commodities. Okay, at that time you see the level of amount allotted by me is 0 to d, 0 to d, but you see the price level is very less. Okay, so the difference between the potential price and actual price, we call it as what? The shaded area PDC is the area where the surplus, it happens for the consumer. That's why this shaded area, we call it as consumer surplus. Okay, so this is the concept is very simple. Scheduled also, it's very simple, and you see the diagram also, it's very simple. The shaded area. So why if there is a consumer surplus arises, what will happen? The surplus amount of money, it can be utilized for some other purposes for the consumer. Okay, so here these are all the criticisms done by the other people for the consumer surplus given by Marshall. So what are all the criticism? Utility cannot be measured. The same thing, because it is a subjective one. Measurement will not be the same for all the consumers in consuming all the commodities. So that is the main criticism given by the other economists. Then you see the marginal utility of money does not remain constant. The marginal utility of money does not remain constant. This is the criticism, because the marginal utility of money, it keep on changing. It depends upon the consumer. Okay, so that also it was criticized by the other people. Then the potential price is internal. Yes, the potential, the my ability. See here now, I have the ability to pay 4 rupees to purchase one apple, but it will not be the same for all the consumers. Some other consumer, their potential price will be 10 rupees. They are ready to pay 10 rupees to purchase one apple. There may be some consumer who is ready only with 2 rupees, or they may be for ready with 1 rupee. At that time, if the price is very high, how to calculate? That concept will go wrong. Okay, so if some people, they may be having 4 rupees, ready to pay 4 rupees to buy the commodity. Some will be ready to have spend 10 rupees to purchase one apple. Some, to the extreme level, they will be ready to pay even 20 rupees also for purchasing one. It depends upon their income. They depends upon their income. It depends upon their taste, preference. So many other economic factors also is there. So at that time, it is not possible to analyze the consumer surplus at all. Okay, so these are all the criticisms given by the other economists. So thank you so much for watching. Now today in this session, we have seen the two laws. One is law of equimarginal utility, and the second one is consumer surplus. All this law of diminishing marginal utility, law of equimarginal utility, and consumer surplus, all those things, it will come under the cardinal utility. Cardinal utility, it is nothing but, as I told you already, it is the economists, they say the analysis of utility level of the consumer, it will be a measurable one. Okay, and yeah, with this I am finishing this session, and thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much guys. Bye, take care.